2.2 has been in the works for over 5 years, getting closer to 6 every day. Just over a year ago on the game's 8th birthday, RAV premiered the first 2.2 sneak peek, showcasing one of the new 2.2 levels, Dash. Or at least we assume it's called Dash because the song says Geometry Dash in it. For the second sneak peek just a few days ago, RAV revealed the first section of the long-awaited Explorers. And when I say long-awaited, I mean long-awaited. This level was announced like before half of you were born. I've seen lots of people complain about the sneak peek and saying that it's disappointing and too short. There is a joke I can sneak in that I will refrain from saying because of YouTube's monetization standards. So today I'm going to go over the new sneak peek in more detail with some of the new features and why some people find Explorers to be disappointing so far. And while I think some of the criticism is valid, that at the end of the day this shouldn't be too big a deal. To start off, we have the first section. A mostly open cube section with lots of new features like spider orbs, new portals and triggers we haven't seen before, and the same pixel or Mario style seen in Dash in the last sneak peek. There are 2 layers of background. By the way, the background changes later in the level, confirming that it's a possibility in 2.2, and F blocks that, if I recall correctly, were used in Dash to switch the player's gravity towards the structure that it's placed on, formatted similarly to the S or D blocks, although I think I saw this in like an X creator goal from like 8 months ago, so take it with a grain of salt. We are bombarded with teleport orbs, gravity portals with jump boosts that do not match any of the jump pads that we have in the game currently, more spider orbs, trigger orbs, even more spider orbs, and then this weird section with possibly skull orbs or trigger orbs that prevent buffering. The main criticisms I've seen with this part is that it uses too many gimmicks in too little time, and maybe that the level is a bit empty towards the beginning in terms of deco, but we'll get to the balancing of the level later. Personally, I think the level being relatively empty isn't too much of a problem. Given that main levels are not made to necessarily impress the community with amazing complex designs, this is meant to introduce new 2.2 features, not focus on decoration. However, for that same reason, I think this part should be modified to be less rapid fire with the new features, specifically the spider orbs, which to me feel very forced into the level, because there's like 50 of them. If you compare this version of Explorers to Finger Dash introduces the red orb, black orb, and dash orbs very sparingly, and old features are used frequently as well, which is something I think Explorers should do similarly instead of having like 2 new features per input. But at the same time, I think it would make much more sense to compare Explorers to Deadlocked, as Dash is most likely going to be the easier of the 2 levels set to release with 2.2, not counting platformer levels. And sort of how Geometrical Dominator is more laid back compared to Deadlocked, which is much more intense, I feel like it could be a similar dynamic with Dash and Explorers. Following this, we have the second section of the level, which I will dub the Death Quarter section for obvious reasons. This section has the player go through the Swiss flag horizontally and then vertically multiple times, with some spider jumps, cube gameplay, and sort of straight fly for some reason, followed by literally Slaughterhouse, and then wrapping it up with, you guessed it, a spider orb, and some spider jumps. I think this part is probably a fair bit more difficult than the first part of the level, to say the least, but I mostly think the problem is in its sight readability, or the fact that there is none. I will explain more later in the video why I think this is sort of a big problem, other than it just being annoying to play. And finally, with the third and final section of the level that has been revealed so far, it has some more faster paced gameplay with lots of gravity changes, toggle orbs, and other orbs that aren't spider orbs. I don't think the complaints against this part make as much sense. At least to me, it seems like this part would be easy enough to get consistent with a bit of practice, and overall should be fine, but I do think it is considerably easier than the Death Quarter / Swiss flag section of the level. So at the very least, the balancing is sort of off. So overall, the points against this level sum up to it's unbalanced, the decoration is underwhelming, and the gameplay is too gimmicky, and at some points, kind of unsight readable. Now remember, RAV has said that this version is, of course, subject to change, so this isn't permanent in any way. I don't think the balancing should be of any concern, as I think RAV can just nerf the Swiss flag part and make some of the transitions a bit more predictable, as well as balancing the other parts of the level. The decoration also shouldn't be a problem, because to me it seems simple enough to not overwhelm new players, while also staying relatively interesting enough to not lead to as bad of an early 2.0 deco phase for 2.2. Which leads me to my main and really only concern with Explorers, is that it could set a bad example for creators during the beginning of 2.2. Everyone and their mother's mother already knows it. The beginning of 2.2 will probably see lots of really cancerous levels before things calm down and creators learn how to build levels that don't play like drinking hydrochloric acid, but this will probably be affected by how the RAV levels are when 2.2 is released, in like 30 years. Basically, everyone will be ripping off whatever RAV does, so if RAV makes a level that is generally not that fun or just not very sight readable, suddenly everyone is copying that with the same problems for like 3 months. This is kind of what we saw in 2.0. Personally, I like Geometrical Dominator and I think it plays really well, although I am probably part of the minority when I say that. because there are a lot of spontaneous move triggers, and of course there's the memory section, and a decoration style that is really hard to properly replicate without making it look like absolute garbage. So if Explorers is really unset readable and unbalanced, then we might get more inbred levels like we did at the beginning of 2.0. So overall, I think that Explorers should be balanced and maybe add a bit more deco. Not much, but come on, like, please. And the gameplay should be changed in the first part and the Death Corridor part to not be rapid fire with as many gimmicks. But at the same time, I don't really care too much because ultimately Dash is most likely going to be the level that is easier of the two and can focus more on introducing new features, while Explorers is more challenging. Again, like Geometrical Dominator and Deadlocked. Although Rob Top is most likely already fixing everything I just mentioned, maybe except the changes to the number of gimmicks in the level, but he seems to be very open to constructive criticism, and again, the level is not final. So while I think these are valid points, ultimately this shouldn't be too big of a deal. Explorers is not finished, and Rob Top will probably change the balancing and whatnot. Also, if you are someone who said the sneak peek was too short, why don't you explore a way to get some bitch? Okay, so that's it for today's video. I'm sorry I had to make a video on this somehow, but I tried to at least be semi-original instead of uploading my reaction to it like everyone else. Thanks for watching, and if you're new here, please subscribe for more content like it. If you dare enter the comment section below, please be civilized. We all finally have a reason to think like 2.2 will be out within a couple years. Don't make it an issue over what specific thing you want for 2.2. If you hate yourself and have no care for your own mental health, you can join my Discord server, link is in the description. I also have a second channel where I upload completions and just sort of more unofficial joke videos with some of the best thumbnail designs known to mankind. Link also in the description, and yeah, see you in the next one.